I think
Hello.
I think we have everyone here. Yep. Hi. So today we're going to be talking about building GTM teams with this bunch of incredible speakers. We have Nick, Russ, Daniel, and Jesse. Um, so I hope everyone enjoys themselves today and have fun.
Yes, fun is the important word for our session um, around building go-to-market teams. So I'm Russ Sack. I'm the head of revenue at Second Nature. We'll do a quick intro for everybody, and the format that we're going to have is a true roundtable. So each one of these esteemed panelists are going to ask each other some questions we've prepared in advance around the challenges of building go-to-market teams in a economy and environment that is constantly changing. I know we've gone through a lot of change recently, but it keeps changing. And I'll just start with a quick introduction. Myself and Nick, we are from Second Nature, proud sponsor of this conference, and we supply an application to make sellers more competent and confident by practicing two-way role plays or conversations with a artificially intelligent set of avatars, personas that our clients can choose. And then the salespeople that participate in the simulations at any one of our customers then can measure how proficient they are, get insights on how to improve, all with our AI powered personas. So that's me and Nick. Jesse, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. And just even hearing that, Russ, I think we need to have a conversation for our company. I'm Jesse. I'm VP of Sales at Payment Cloud. We are a fintech company headquartered in Los Angeles with an office also in Cleveland. And mainly we help businesses get set up with merchant accounts to accept credit card payments, e-check payments, ACH. The fintech part of it is we have a unique boarding process and secure application process to take in secure financial data while streamlining the process for merchants. And we also specialize in the high risk industries. So certain business types that may not be able to go right to the bank, we can help, and we have a specialized niche in that area.
Awesome. Dan.
Yeah, thanks, Russ. My name's Dan Cohen. I'm the Director of Acquisition Sales for EasyCater, which is an market facilitating for work. Proud to say we're the largest player in our, but we're always looking to grow, improving in our processes and how we perform. Always thinking about two sets of customers. We have ours and then our food ordering customers. Always thinking about the balance between those two groups and how to keep everybody engaged and excited to partner with us for their food needs.
Awesome. So let's get down to it with our discussion. And if anyone has any questions, please send them into the chat. We'd love to see what's on your minds. Nick, why don't you kick off with what you do at Second Nature, and then also with the first set of questions.
Yeah, so at Second Nature, I oversee our SDR team. So really kind of anything outbound runs through me and my team. And I also oversee a lot of our sales and marketing technology that we use. And yeah, like Russ mentioned, we're a sales coaching, sales training platform, specializing in that two-way AI conversation to help reps be more well-versed when they do get people on the phone, because as we know, that can be a challenge, especially in today's environment. Yeah, so for our first topic, we're going to be talking about collecting data from the field and kind of readying the sale. So this question will be for Jesse. In a rapidly changing market, it's important to gather information from the field. So how do you collect this feedback from your sales team, and then how do you vet it and then act upon it?
Right. So one way we do this is it's actually kind of counter to sorry, my son's laughing in the background. one way we do this is actually a little more old school, at least for the last couple of years. A lot of us are in office. And so the calls, meetings, everything that my team has with prospective merchants, we immediately can relay. We have regular team meetings. We have our sales teams divided into little pods, 3 or 4 team members, where there's a team lead that oversees their individual team, and I sit in on everything with those meetings to gather rep feedback on their sales process, on specific business meetings that they've had. Of course, our CRM has to stay up to date, and I actually compensate the reps partially on how well they keep the CRM up to date, in addition to their sales performance, to make sure the data is clean, up to date, everything's transferring to leadership in a proper way. But I'd say the big ways we do that are, like in CRM, like everyone else, regular communication, in-person meetings, virtual meetings, as well as one-on-ones. So if some people aren't comfortable sharing certain information or feel pressured, I make sure that they have an outlet, whether it's directly to me, to their team lead, or to someone else at the company.
Thanks, Jesse. And then I'll turn it over to Dan. Specifically, how do you make sure your teams are ready to go to market, and what steps you sure to take this kind of motion? Is it training, coaching, data, kind of pitch sessions? How does that work for you guys?
Yeah, I think the answer is yes, right? So we're in a little different environment than Jesse is. Hybrid, the overwhelming majority of our teams are remote, typically working from home. I think we're in about 38 different states as a company.
Wow.
We spend a lot of time on coaching. Certainly, we actually have a team of coaches, which is something that we're still developing, where their whole job is to listen to calls and provide feedback and get with the reps, which supplements what the managers do, right? Our managers are coaching as well, but it also gives them a little more time to get into some of the less exciting stuff, pipeline reviews and performance reviews and things of that nature. So the coaches are a huge part of our success. When we get focused on specific goals, we'll have trainings around those verticals, or if there's a new initiative, we'll have trainings around the initiatives. We have debriefs regularly after we try something new, or while it's still in the general new phase, to understand what went well, what didn't go well, how do we do it for next time. A project we're working on right now is we're starting to attend, in-person events, right? And one of the areas where we're trying to understand better is how we handle our follow-ups after those events, and how we improve our systems internally to do so. So we rely on a lot of feedback from the reps themselves, the BDRs and the AEs, rely on a lot of feedback from the managers, as well as our partners in sales ops that help keep everything clean and going. And then we also do, even though we're remote, we do spend a decent amount of time, the managers do, listening to live calls, right, and being able to provide some instant coaching on those calls as well, to make sure that we're getting the message across correctly.
Yeah, and I could piggyback off of what Dan said. We do a lot of those same things. So I'm glad to see that we have some convergence in that area. It makes me feel like we're doing something right. If I see Dan's team's doing it, we do in one-on-one coaching, or also in these team meetings that I mentioned. The team meetings are once a week. One-on-one coaching for people happens every 2 weeks. We have them do live calls where sales trainers and coaches are on those calls, listening, and then coach after each one, along with summarizing notes. We have action items after these coaching sessions for them to make sure they accomplish, almost like a report card for the following one-on-one session or team meeting. And the team meetings are also a nice way to build camaraderie, where 1 week it's one person on the hot mic doing calls. The next week it's someone else. And so in that way, they kind of build up to it. They can not egg each other on, but playfully tease and build that sense of team. And we have dedicated sales support both for our Cleveland office and for our Los Angeles headquarter office, always ready to answer any questions, to jump on a one-on-one session. They're also responsible for updating a company wiki. So in our industry, we have so many different solutions for merchants, even though it's mainly payment processing. There's a bunch of different options at their disposal, especially based on the merchant. If they're an e-commerce business, if they're an in-person business, if they do only mostly invoicing, if they do everything. And so the amount of knowledge that an account manager at our company has to have is vast. So the wiki is super important. And we build that into regular coaching. We first educate them on the answer. We then educate them on the process that they should do to figure it out themselves in the future. So process, check out the wiki that we use a product called Guru. Should you not find the answer there, consult your sales support team. There's a ongoing, it's our equivalent of Slack. We use Click since we're in the Zoho CRM. But try to educate the reps so that eventually they can figure it out themselves. They don't have to keep going to leadership time and time again to figure things out in the sales process or company information. They ultimately build the muscles to figure it out themselves so that they can help people that are newer when they start.
It's awesome. I saw Rebecca dropped a comment. I love the amount of importance y'all are putting on coaching. Got some thumbs up on it, which, yeah, I think for me in my career, I can never get enough coaching. Throughout my entire career, I know I hear from our reps all the time. Even with all the coaching, the number one thing that they want is more coaching, and more involvement, and they're looking to grow and improve their skills and advance their careers. So I started my career as an SDR, as a third party for hire, kind of outsourced SDR type setup. One of the biggest keys to my success was being in the office. Right? We're going back, date myself. We're going back a decade to when I was an SDR. Jesse, from your perspective, right? At least for me, it was critical to be in the office. It was critical to get that coaching. Like, how has that changed? How do you think it's going to continue to evolve? And then when you're hiring, what types of personas are you hiring as you're bringing people into the office? Yep. Jesse, have you got all that?
Did we lose Jesse? I think we did. Yeah.
Maybe start with, I'm going to take that question until Jesse gets back. Is right, Nick, you're more of a remote environment?
Yeah, we're 100% remote here in the US. So, yeah, we put kind of a big emphasis on team collaboration. We try to do at least once a day. We use a tool called Call Blitz to do calling sessions together. So that way when someone gets a pickup, we can jump in there, listen, and give live feedback. Also utilizing SalesOff to provide feedback on the actual calls. And when it comes to hiring for this, I think they have to be nimble. They have to be willing to adapt as changes do happen, especially in this changing environment. But I like to have a good kind of mix on my team of people that have done it before and people that have kind of those soft skills that make you successful as an SDR. So having that curiosity, tenacity, wanting to go kind of that extra mile. Obviously, someone you don't need to be a tech wizard because you can kind of learn as you go, but you have to be just kind of familiar in how tech can kind of make your life easier as an SDR.
One of the things,
Awesome.
One of the challenges also on Nick's side is while we are all remote in the US, our office in Tel Aviv is all in the same office. So there's a kind of a bit of a unique dynamic that one country's all remote, the other country is everyone in person. And one of the challenges is, okay, how do you blend the two cultures? And one of the things that our HR team had an idea was to just do kind of a meet and greet, a random meet and greet over video with different individuals who haven't met each other, right? And they were in remote locations. So that was a good way to blend the two and think about, how do you mesh two cultures, one all in person and one all remote. So,
yeah. And then there's unique challenges with just the international culture as well.
Yeah.
Right. It's Asian styles are going to be a bit different. So that's pretty unique experience right there. It's very cool.
Yeah. One of the things, Dan, we have is my feedback sometimes to the team in Israel is taken as, oh, he's such a nice guy. When I think I'm being pretty straightforward, it's because they're like, wow, he's so nice with his feet. I was like, I thought I was super mean, but right, you're right. It's like the culture is very different.
Yeah.
So, Jesse, I don't know. Dan had the question for you. I don't know if you heard him. And if you want to answer.
Sorry, my internet dropped out. I think probably just as he asked.
Oh.
Yeah. So Jesse, the question was, and Nick had chimed in on it. So in my car a decade ago, now that my keys to success, in addition to the coaching that we talked about, was also just being together in person was really critical for my success. Versus today where we have a lot more remote SDRs working. From your perspective, and you're still in the office, how has that need to be in the office changed? How has coaching changed, and how do you expect it to change moving forward? And then additionally, when you're hiring, what types of personas are you looking for as you think about it?
Yeah, great question, right? And I think we discussed this even before the panel, that my company is a little different than other companies now, where we're pretty strictly in office, and part of that is because we believe so much in, especially when people are starting up, in needing to learn from others, to be around each other, to have immediate access to the coaching resources that we have. And since we have hired people that are relatively green in the sales, in their sales experience in the past, it's required much more hand-holding, careful coaching, and also developing the professional structure, to make sure that they come in ready to work, develop set schedule, can learn from others visually along with doing their job. That said, it's not to say that it has to be that in office for us all the time. Once people have developed knowledge, have developed their certain skill sets, they are able to work hybrid or fully remote. And so we kind of use it almost as a reward after a period of time. Once you've gone through proper training, you've demonstrated your sales chops, you're not only to be trusted from a workflow standpoint, but you're producing results. So after a period of time, people are able to work hybrid, after 6 months with demonstrated success. And after a year, some people are able to lobby for remote work entirely.
Nice.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I think it's hard to balance, leading with micromanaging. I think especially in the BDR role where so many are entry level. And I certainly don't like to micromanage. I don't think anybody likes to micromanage, but it can feel that way to a rep, which is important to bear of, even though what we're really doing is just helping them develop those positive habits that are going to benefit them right throughout the years. It doesn't always come out that way.
Nice. Let's keep moving. So I've got questions, which is on this, on what you just mentioned, Dan. So how do you measure your team's productivity, and how do you enhance it? Right, you're giving them feedback. Maybe some is taken positively, some negatively. How do you measure it?
Yeah, so I think this actually Russ, might align with the question Catherine put out there, asking kind of where to focus on if you're early phase, 10 employees, right, small budget. Because I think it's similar. So in terms of productivity, focus a lot, start with the end results, which for BR team, is really about booking meetings, or the meetings being held, right, or the prospect showing up to the meetings. And then we also look at looking at bookings, right? That's how we're measuring for us. We're looking at bookings instead of revenue right now. From there, we tend to extrapolate on what type of activities are going to create success towards those end goals. So I think that's the minimum piece of where we measure productivity, right? We're looking at activities, looking at phone calls, emails, LinkedIn posts. We've had to tweak it quite a bit over the year. So we created our team in January, where one did not exist before. Came in with a sense of this is what we know to be true generally, and we also came in very open that we know we're going to need to alter this as we progress. In terms of I think that's one of the really positives of coaching is that the more we coach, the better we actually understand what reps are doing. So because of that, we can then enhance their progress. We can make the changes and tweaks that we need to make. I think where that falls in with Catherine's question too is focusing on that begin with the end in mind. What is it that you really want to get done? Work backwards, right, to kind of lay out how it is you're going to get there. And be very, very open to change in the go-to-market setting.
Yeah. This is strange for me to be asking a person on my team, but Nick, how do you measure it?
Yeah. I mean, luckily for us, we are a pretty small team, so I actually get in the trenches with my team, which definitely helps because then I'm hearing a lot of the same things they're hearing. And I kind of just give them kind of like general guidelines around, all right, you should be making X amount of dials per day. And in terms of your total activities, you should be around this number. But each person works differently. Some people on my team are more call heavy. Some people really like to leverage social. So as long as they're hitting their numbers and there's no issues there, then I kind of allow them to work in kind of their own way. Which for us works very well, and that's what makes our team so strong is that we do have so many different personas and personalities, and like I mentioned, each person kind of has their own strengths, and you kind of you need to support that as a leader.
Yeah. Awesome, Jesse. We've got you back. How you doing with your internet?
I'm sorry, guys. I don't know what's going on. But this is part of the challenge of remote work, right? Versus office. I am all for remote work, but there are complications and headaches that come with it, right? Where I don't have business internet, I have personal, and it just chose today out of all days to not work well. So forgive me. I'm sorry.
You okay to take the next set of questions?
Yeah, absolutely. Are we on? We're on topic 4 on our agenda.
This is also a good one, I think, to the question before from Catherine, right? Which is outsourcing. So just take it away.
Sure. Yeah. Regarding outsourcing, first can comment on this before I even ask others in this panel that we have traditionally done most things in-house. Also, it's comes from the top in terms of philosophy on things. We want to try to control as much of our sales process and all other processes at the company as possible internally, if we're able to. But we've been experimenting with some outsourcing of generating leads, of generating business. So all of those things are at hand here. Okay, son, I got it. There you go. Go ahead. Another problem with remote work, if your child is home, and interrupt your panel. In terms of outsourcing, I was just talking about this. Sorry for the rambling response. We at Payment Cloud, we still engage in outsourcing a number of ways to generate leads for the sales team. We're primarily an inbound sales organization. So we have a number of lead partners that generate leads for us. Other companies like us, content sites like Merchant Maverick or NerdWallet, declines from other payment processors. Certain things, all of those things are coming in. I would consider all of that partner or outsourcing. But also on the outbound side of things, we actually have appointment setting companies reaching out to businesses big and small to try to, with scripts and resources we've armed them with, to try to get processing statements from these businesses. And once those are generated, that's the equivalent of a meeting for us. We have a resource that we can work with to make sure we can actually try to beat their current business. But that said, for our sales team, in terms of educating them, training them, having our actual sales communication out there, the majority of it is in-house with our inbound team. There are a little over 50 sales reps as a company spread out between Cleveland and Los Angeles. So not to say we're against outsourcing and how to leverage it for go-to-market, but as a company, our experience has been mainly in-house with limited outsourcing. And so after that rambling, I wanted to turn it over, first to Russ to ask, when you insource or outsource to a small company for go-to-market, when do you make that decision, and when do you decide to bring it in-house?
Yeah, I think. By the way, we lost Dan. He had a slight emergency he has to take care of. He says he's going to be back. It's just one of those days. But Jesse, on our end, and from my perspective, I look at insourcing and outsourcing first and foremost of whether this is a strategic area for the business. And if it's strategic and differentiated and specialized, that needs to stay in-house no matter what. And then the second area is also when you're not sure how much of the resource needs to be in-house, you may go ahead and experiment with an external outsource provider. Maybe like we did at the beginning, we outsourced our sales development work and we used an external boutique to focus on that, and then realized that we needed to bring it in-house and build the team internally for a couple of reasons. One is career development. The second is to have a better transition between what we were doing from an inbound and outbound meeting scheduling and have it transition much smoother to an account executive. And also be able to expand the responsibilities of the sales development team. So we had it outsourced at the beginning, then we brought it in-house. But there's certain things that I believe that you should never outsource, which is if they're strategic. It could be competitive intelligence. It could be certain parts of the sales process, right? Your sales operations. That could be strategically important to how your business operates, and that's not something that should go outside. So, let's. I want to bring up. Oh, we have one question from Stanley. Maybe we can. This is a good one, which is how do you, as sales leaders, fight against the urge of proximity bias? Right. That's a good one. Bias is a big one, no matter how objective you think you are. Nick, you've got people near you in Texas. How do you fight proximity bias?
Yeah, I mean, that's a hard one. And in a perfect world, yeah, for me personally, I would love some sort of either hybrid situation with our team or even the ability to meet even like once a month. Unfortunately, for Second Nature, we don't have that in place just because we've got some people here in Texas, another in Florida, and then our sales team's kind of spread out across the eastern seaboard. But yeah, it's definitely a challenge. But like I mentioned before, having applications like Cobwebs where we can kind of be in the same quote unquote room definitely helps with our team camaraderie and trying to build that remote culture. We also, as a sales revenue org, try to meet once a quarter in person here in the US, where we try to kind of go over the previous quarter and plan out for the quarter that we're in. And that definitely helps as well in terms of getting people to have that face-to-face interaction.
Yeah, and I would say that this is one of our biggest challenges, not as a sales org, especially with the size that we are, where we have a little over a third of our team in an office in Cleveland, and they were the second office. Our headquarters is in Encino, and so we have two sales parts here. The more experienced reps that have been longer tenured are in our headquarters in Encino. Just from that very fact, there's going to be a feeling of bias, that all of leadership is in the Encino office, that they may get preference on leads. Like decisions might go their way more often than those in Cleveland, that leadership isn't able to be in Cleveland all day versus they are in Encino. So are they getting more of the love in training? And so we have to go over the top to quell the feelings of proximity bias, not only from the team, but also from our own actions. Even if we think we're being equal, we actually defer a little more to the people that are remote or virtual to make them feel that they are as included as possible. And that's in training. We implemented a virtual office hours where our sales support team, our trainers, management take turns, and they're just on a Google Meet all day. It's in the background. They're doing everything else that they have, but in addition to their Click channel, it's just a free form event. Any reps in Cleveland or that are remote don't have to feel the need to set a meeting with any of us. They can just pop in and ask questions. And of course, they might still, message and confirm someone's in there, but more often than not, they just jump on and ask. And so it makes it feel like they are in the office.
Yeah.
One other way we do this is just regular communication. So I address the entire sales team once a week in kind of a roundtable, fireside chat like this. And we have a team-wide the equivalent of a Slack channel. Like I said, we use a thing called Click. But we encourage everyone to share information, to ask questions, and actually prompt certain people every day to ask some questions to get things going. There's not really ever a challenge of people asking, but people that have been in the headquarters in Encino for 4 years answer questions for people that just started in Cleveland, or people that have been in Cleveland for a year answer questions for people that just started in Encino. So have to make sure that we conquer this. It is a big challenge. And we're not even a fully remote workforce. So I feel like for a company that is remote or has a team dispersed everywhere, this is a huge challenge to overcome.
Is good. What about, are you pushing, presenting in person? Right now, I think there's been a lot of change in habits. People have gotten very comfortable with virtual, but presenting in person can't be replaced, right? It's just, you get the dynamics. For me personally, right, I was like, oh, everything's going great. We're giving a lot of remote meetings, a lot of virtual businesses, seems like it's in good motion in this way. And then I went to a meeting in person, and it had been a while since I'd been presenting in person. the meeting went okay, but as I walked to the elevator, the business owner told me the budget. Right? Never would have got, and then all of a sudden it clicked again. I said, oh, right, don't forget how important it is, even those side conversations, right, from that standpoint. So, like, Jesse, are you pushing for in-person now? I know that you do a lot of remote selling, but
Yeah, I love that example too, right? Because it underlines the importance of asking just some base like core, qualifying questions before you even get going, while maintaining this personal touch. You don't want it to all be transactional. That's the balance we all have to strike in sales. The majority of our sales are remote in that we sell over email, phone, text, from inbound leads that come in. The majority of our business are small business to medium businesses that need credit card processing for either their core business offering, everything they do, or just one part of what they do. And they either need it to start, they've never had it before, or they want to change from a company, like PayPal or Stripe or any other option out there. We kind of evaluate it based off of immediate business potential. So we try to ask some qualifying questions out the gate: what kind of monthly volume they're doing, how long they've been in business, what they're looking for right now, what they realistically think they will process monthly. And also evaluate personality right away on that initial call. If they are someone that's a little more old school, or is pushing to get to know the account manager more first before sending information, then those people will be more likely for a potential video meeting or even in-person meeting if the business potential is big enough. And if it's someone that's a little more, I would say, new school, usually that's someone a little younger, likes to just email, text, doesn't even like to get on the phone. We close those sales sometimes without even talking to someone.
Wow.
So it varies for us, case by case, but the majority of the large deals, the really big deals, we like to push for in-person if we can do it, if logistics matter, or at least have multiple video meetings where we can establish this personal touch. Since those kind of deals will require more hand-holding, will take longer, and will rely on their trust in the account manager and sales leadership more than even the core products that we're providing.
We had a couple of interesting lessons recently, which is we had, in many cases, the SDR team doing a lot of remote meeting setup. And then if we would be showcasing at an event in person, we have the AEs there. And then recently we changed it. The SDR set up the meetings and then attended the event. And again, that small thing was like a light bulb. People who came to the event recognized the SDRs from all the outreach versus having to reconnect with an AE saying, oh, I'm here to meet so-and-so, an appointment was arranged. It's amazing that transition, how natural that comes when someone's remote and then in person, how important it is now. One other thing that we learned, though, is we recently had a variety of in-person meetings and then found out that the clients, the prospects, didn't allow external people into the offices yet, and the employees hadn't realized. So we had to go across the street and present remotely. It was kind of embarrassing. But,
I love that.
Yeah. Nick, I don't know if you have anything to add on the in-person versus remote, and then we can go to what I think is the really final interesting question.
Yeah, no, definitely going back to the in-person events, there's definitely a power in that kind of that in-person connection. I've been to a couple of sales conferences recently, and there really is no replacing that. But having the people that are doing the reach out actually be there at the event is definitely very powerful. It makes it more of a kind of a seamless transition if that conversation were to progress where they need to introduce it to an AE, and gives the SDRs a little bit of an ownership of a potential deal kind of moving forward and throughout the process.
Let's take the last question, which Nick, this is a good one for you. And what go-to-market? There's a lot of advertising out there. We're all continuously digesting advertising, and there's a lot of articles written about the industries across sales tech, a whole variety. But in general, what go-to-market item that you see out in the open is really a fallacy, right? So what do you think is out there? I know, Dan, we talked about this before, and he said very straightforward, the fact that cold calling is dead, or the fact that prospecting is dead. He said that's completely incorrect. Absolutely wrong. Cold calling is as alive as ever, right? Prospecting is as alive as ever. But do you have any examples that you're like, I just don't agree with this? Jesse, you want to go?
I mean, I love that one. We talked about that before too. It's just, sorry, I didn't know if I saw a delay or not on my end. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, we're good. Yeah.
Yep, you're good.
Yeah, I just to hit that one, and I see that's even a topic at RevCon here. But it's even we just started an outbound team because of our belief and knowledge that cold calling is not dead, and from leads that we have been given from appointment setting companies that do cold call businesses, big and small, and have generated significant results for us. If the script is not just script, but training is there, and the target of your cold calling is there, as long as you have the persistence and tools at your beck and call, it's incredibly effectively. I mean, it's why it's been around forever. It's not because people are still doing it for a reason, right? Not out of stubbornness, but because it yields results and it opens up other doors that your inbound channel can't. I don't know if Nick or Dan want to piggyback on that one. I have some others I can add a little later.
Yeah, I think for me, I think it's an idea that actually Kevin Dorsey talked about earlier this morning, is that about artificial intelligence, AI, which directly relates to second nature. And there's fallacies around like, oh, AI is going to replace SDRs or sales reps, which is definitely not the case. I think AI is a good supplement, and it can make your life easier as an SDR or as an AE or even a sales leader. So I definitely think there's some power in that, and organizations that adapt to this new environment where AI is present and can help you with your business will be the ones that ultimately will succeed in today's economic times that we find ourselves in.
One of the things.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Dan. Hey.
Oh yeah, and sorry for a step out. I'm very aligned, right? The AI, it's going to help. It's not going to replace the effort. It's not going to replace the phone calls, the emails, LinkedIn efforts. It's effort. I think really trumps all, especially in a SDR setting. Especially when if economic times get tough, those supplemental tools are the first things to go. So it's really important to exercise those muscles of doing those repeated activities, and they work, and we know that they work because we see the results on a consistent basis.
Great. I think we're at time. Good wind up for this. So if anyone in the crowd wants to reach out to any of us, we'd love to continue the conversation. And thanks for attending. Jesse, thanks for participating. Dan, thank you. Nick, we see each other regularly, but thank you also. I'll see you later for our one-on-one. But thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your day. And thanks, everyone from Rev Genius.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.